There's going to be some bad language here. I'm sorry, but it's going to be unavoidable. You know those times when you hear nothing but bad news about a movie and it lives up to its reputation? Well, that's not The Last Airbender, no. It's worse. Far worse. Let me put my cards on the table here. I'm not one for bashing a movie just because everyone else does. If I hate a movie, I always try to understand why exactly it is I don't like it. Then I trash it. M Night Shyamalan is no stranger to criticism. His films have attracted more than a fair share of detractors, and I hasten to add that I have tried hard to avoid jumping on the bandwagon of bashing Shyamalan, but as sure as flies love shit, he seems to be making an increasing effort to turn away his entire audience. After the utter travesty of the failure that was The Happening, M Night Shyamalan returns with a kids' movie based on an anime. Briefly, the story is about 4 nations of people, each of which can control a certain element: water, fire, earth or air. The Fire Nation have all but destroyed the Air Nation to stop the prophesied return of the Avatar from their people. The Avatar is the one being who can control all of the elements, a powerful being that will prevent any nation from taking power, something that the Fire Nation plan to do. The Avatar is found by 2 members of the Water Nation, only for him to be taken by force by the exiled Fire Nation Prince Zuko. The Avatar escapes with his 2 new friends, and after discovering his nation's fate, he sets off to learn the next element after air: water. I figured out the ending to this movie. I kid you not, barely 10 minutes into the film, I figured it out. It is that predictable. The Fire Nation approach the Water Nation on boats. They are floating under the very thing that the Water Nation uses as a weapon. There is snow on the ground. They could use that too. But do they? Do they hell? Now you may say that these people are not adept at waterbending, that they've been banned from practicing it. Well, the girl who we see playing with the skill seems to have gotten away with it, learning the skill. And it's not like there's any Fire Nation police around them to stop them. I mean, why the fuck are they not practicing in secret? No scrolls, I hear you say. Well, she got that far with no scrolls, and the rest of them didn't even bother to try. Either way, you just know, as soon as you see the Fire Nation in their big boats with that whole kind of maritime fleet thing, that this is a bit of a tactical balls up when you're attacking a nation that can control fucking water. But more of that later. The acting in this movie ranges from a beige shade of insufficient to bloody appalling, but to be fair to some of the actors, they are lumbered with a script that just reeks. The dialogue is stiff and unnatural, and the story is from the very beginning slow. And you know, don't ask me how I knew, but I just did. I knew exactly how this was going to end, and that at the end of the day the story would not go anywhere particularly. The problem is that this was always planned to be an epic film in 3 parts, so all of a sudden there was no imperative to make the story efficient. Airbender immediately suffers from the same problem that the Matrix sequels had. Only this time it has the luxury of an extra movie's runtime to fill with unnecessary bloat. As a result, the story plods along, painfully slowly, and to no narrative advantage. There are long periods of times when seemingly little or nothing happens, and so many pointless and self-indulgent diversions that really don't need to be going on. When the heroes visit the air temple, they all, aside from the Avatar, know what happened to the monks. They could have saved this sizable chunk of runtime by simply having Aang say, "I need to see my nation again," to which the others could have told him what happened. Quick grieving scene, job done. On to the Water Nation city. We as an audience do not need to see the air temple again. We know the monks have been knocked off. It adds nothing. These inefficiencies are multiple. The scenes of the imprisoned earthbenders is mind-bogglingly stupid, because these are powerful people, and their weapon is right under their feet. Why the fuck does it take the Avatar to tell them this? These people know how to do this shit. Why the fuck are they not using their powers to get out of there? The guards are no more powerful than the prisoners, and the prisoners outnumber them. The characters are whiny, mercilessly whiny. The sister and the brother are the most clean-cut American TV teens imaginable, with all the inanity and cliche that these tend to carry. Honestly, there's nothing rugged about these two, considering they live in igloos in a sub-zero climate, and being part of a hunter-gatherer society. One wonders how the hell they managed to look like that. How the hell they managed to look like they just stepped out of a top LA beauty parlour. Aang is just annoying. I mean, really annoying. He whines constantly as he's supposed to be the reluctant hero. But his reason for being reluctant, his reason for not wanting to be the Avatar, the reason he ran away from his nation, because he wanted to have a family. He's 12 years fucking old. What 12-year-old talks like that? What 12-year-old laments not having a future with children of his own? He's talking like he's a 30-year-old, for fuck's sake. And I don't care if he's a reincarnation. He's still a 12-year-old boy. He shouldn't be prattling on like he's 3 times older than he is. It's just weird. We don't know him well enough to make this seem right. Then there's a sudden and unconvincing instant love between Sokka and the Princess Yu. And then there's one character that has potential, but is yet again ruined by having to recite more whiny, self-pitying, petulant and frankly stupid dialogue. Prince Zuko is a character that has so many motivations available that would serve the story just as well, but instead of being something sensible or at least tolerable, he's obsessed with being accepted back by his father, the father who banished him. Despite his father's deliberate and explicitly shitty behaviour and contempt for him, instead of making him eat his words, he seeks to make him want him again. Whiny, whiny, whiny. He's supposed to be evil, but he's just fucking whiny. He should be doing everything in his power to fuck his father over given his people's ideology, but all he does is vow to make his father take him back. What could be a potentially fascinating character is just whiny, though there are, to be fair, a few sparks of potential that just barely pulls this character from the utter crassness. But the dialogue he has to spout just makes you want to drown him most of the time. Then there's the final act, the attack on the city. The attack on the city that's full of powerful waterbenders. The attack on the city that the Fire Nation conduct from boats, on water, with fire. During this attack, the Avatar has to go and meditate to ask a dragon what to do. Bearing in mind that Aang has now learnt the waterbending art, he needs to go to ask a spirit dragon about how to defeat the fire-toting arseholes who are sitting in deep water surrounding the city. Words cannot quite express how frustrating this film is. Not only are the Fire Nation so stupendously stupid as to attack the powerful water city with all its experienced waterbenders from the sea, but all these waterbenders are so monumentally stupid that they don't just stand up on the wall and trash the ships before they can go anywhere near the city by summoning up a tidal wave that'll bitch slap the Indian equivalent of the Roman Empire down to Davy Jones' locker. No. No, no, no. We have to wait for the 12-year-old to be told the solution, then barely follow through as he lets them go. He just lets them fuck off in their own time with all their weapons intact after they've heavily damaged the city and killed the crap out of how many people I don't know. I guess the trilogy would fold if he resolved it right there. As for the movie, the effects are okay for the most part, but the wire work tends to feel wrong. The weight of the fighters isn't convincing, it just looks like puppetry. The never-ending story beast appears and feels suitably plagiaristic, and I'm struggling to think of anything particularly outstanding, but it's all so bland. It's saying something when your low expectations are handed back to you covered in crap, but The Last Airbender manages it. The story is surprisingly dull. It should have been at least mildly interesting, but it isn't. It's given far too much time for the writer-director to self-indulgently waffle on, where a story of this kind really needs a strong pace to maintain momentum. Even if, like myself, you've never seen or heard about the original anime, even if, like myself, you were unaware that this was set up to be a trilogy, The Last Airbender is so arse-paralysingly predictable that it never surprises in anything other than how badly executed it is in almost every respect. The horror of the idea of hundreds of millions being spent on the forthcoming sequels makes me want to cry. That money should be spent on making movies that credit the audience with being better than popcorn-swilling no-brains that can be fucked off with ill-conceived, self-indulgent, silly wankery. But this is for kids, I hear some cry. It's a popcorn film. Don't think too much about that. To which I say, fuck you. This movie is aimed at the next generation of cinema-going adults. This is the kind of crap that will define their tastes in movies. Set the bar for what they will expect to see in the future. This and the other stench fest that is The Sorcerer's Apprentice that I've also seen this week are the kind of films that are the cinematic equivalent of McDonald's. They're wrapped in enough colourful packaging that they look alluring, and damn it if you don't get hankering for them once in a while. But the constant stream of junk movies that get thrown in our direction means that anyone that's not more experienced starts to believe that this is how it should be. That this sinew beef cardboard patty sandwich between artificial cheese and a crappy bun is the standard by which we measure all else. That this is normal and this is healthy. When in fact it's poisoning us, it's making us fat and lazy and degrading the art of filmmaking and storytelling. And this has come from a guy that grew up loving Star Wars in the A-Team. It makes me angry because it's so contemptuous and abusive of the young audience. It shows nothing but disdain and commercial scale avarice. It's the worst kind of cynical exploitation that frankly shows the major studio system for what it normally is. A lazy, returns-obsessed, franchise-reliant, unimaginative, artistically challenged, corporation-orientated financial machine that hope that we get so used to this crap that they doll out that they don't have to do any more work. We need good movies to inspire a young audience. Movies that not necessarily have to be high-minded, but movies that at least have some spirit to them. Some thought, some honest-to-goodness storytelling instead of this kind of film that relies on the audience's lack of attention or interaction with the film on any meaningful level. M Night Shyamalan has lost any remaining respect as far as I'm concerned for writing and directing with this utter travesty of a movie. If you thought The Happening was bad, then you haven't seen anything until you've seen this. It's the first film in a long time that made me genuinely angry.